Okay, here's where we are. It's now chapter 8. So let's work on some boots. There they are. Let's isolate the boots. First thing I'm going to do is, let's see, let's trim the bottom. Let's grab a trim rectangle brush and just trim the bottom just so we have some flat bottoms. Let's go back actually and just fill in right there a little bit. There we go. Let's try that again. Yeah, there you go. That's much better. Okay, let me just turn off the color. Now, we've got 3 different poly groups. Let's trim that so it's a little bit cleaner. So we got a poly group up here, we got a poly group there, and we got a poly group for the sole of the boot. I'm going to crease poly groups and keep groups. I'm assuming those are under poly groups over here, those buttons. Keep groups, they're not. Crease polygroups is probably under, it's got to be under geometry. So let's see, maybe it's under crease. Yeah, there you go, it's under crease. Crease polygroups and keep groups would be under Z-remesher because that's freeze groups, keep groups. It's already activated. Okay, so now I'm going to Z-remesh these boots. Z-remesher. Let's give it a second. You used to have that orange line used to run across as it was Z-remeshing and show you the progress, but for some reason it doesn't do that anymore. So I just got to keep my eye over here and see when it changes from 500,000. It's going to be way low now. But it will retain these 3 poly groups and allow me to subdivide and keep those groups. Okay, we're down to 9,000 now. You can see the topology is much cleaner. I don't like that. I don't know what that little thing is. So I'm going to crease groups, which throws a loop around the poly groups, so it keeps that crisp edge. And I'm going to Z-remesh again. I want to get rid of this little anomaly right there. Messy topology. So Z-remesh again, and that should go away. Okay. Yeah. Still not beautiful topology, but good enough. Okay, so let's duplicate, and then I'm going to grab the bottom poly group, delete hidden, and now all I have is this one-sided sole, right? So I'm going to hit BZM, and that brings up the Z modeler brush. And I'm just going to hover over a polygon. See, when you hover over the polygons, you get some choices. When you hover over the edges, you get some choices. And when you hover over the points, you get some choices. And you press spacebar. When you're hovering over a polygon, press spacebar, and that'll open up this big menu and give you all these cool features that you could choose from. So now a single polygon is selected, right? And Q mesh is selected. Q mesh is basically the same thing as extrude. We're going to extrude this and make this a thick sole, right? But right now I only have one polygon selected. So if I do it now, it's just going to pull out that one polygon, right? We don't want that. So we hover over the polygon, Q mesh a poly. We hit the space bar, and instead of a single poly, we hit all the polygons. Now when I extrude, I hover over it and just click and drag. It will extrude me a nice sole with thickness. Okay. Put the boots back on, and there you go. That might be a little too thick, but depending on what kind of boots these are. I'm thinking they're fur boots with just like a leather sole underneath. Very crude, handmade boots. Okay, now back to the boots. Let's turn on the legs. So they're a little bit tight and form-fitting right now, so I'm just going to polish by groups. It's under the deformation palette, polish by groups. I'm going to crease the groups so they stay crispy on the edges. Polish by groups. Whoa. And that's just taking some of the lumps out, because I don't want them really form-fitting. Because of what I'm going to do next. I want a nice clean surface. Now these are kind of organic boots, so I really don't need these poly groups. And I don't need the edges to be crisp, because they're going to be fur. So I'm going to group visible and just kind of round off the edges. And just make them a little bit more organic. Maybe inflate okay. Now, let's see. Now I'm going to take my mask, hit Control, mask, rectangle, draw out a rectangle, and draw, well, we're going to need some geometry. That's too soft. Whoops. So let's do divide a couple of times. Divide, 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 divide. Now I should get a nice crisp mask. Let's do one there. Let's do one there. Let's take the curve stroke and do an angled one. Same thing below it, and hold down Alt. There you go. Let's do one more at a slightly different angle that way. Okay, now these are going to represent some straps. So let's go to extract right here at the bottom of the subtool palette, it looks like. Extract. I'm going to set the thickness to 0.006 and hit extract. And that's going to give me some straps. There you go. Now, if I touch anywhere on the thing, that's going to disappear. Right? If I turn it, it's going to disappear. I want to hit accept to accept those extractions. Boom. And now they're accepted. They're a separate subtool right there. But they're masked, so I have to clear the mask. I have to go back to the boots and clear the mask. I'll show you. See, it remains there, so you got to clear it. So there's my straps. Now, they are pretty decent thickness. I was gonna make them thicker, because you don't want, when you're printing, you don't want gaps in between the boot and the strap like that. You don't want that. That's not good. That causes problems with your file. So I think I'm going to make these a little bit thicker. And the way to do that is just to isolate the green, delete hidden. Wait, hang on. Let me just see the... Yeah, before I do that, I'm going to ZRemesh. Crease polygroups, keep groups, ZRemesh. I need some lower... Right now we're at 1 million. These straps have 1 million points. I want to go way, 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 way lower. So that's going to take a second. Oh, there goes the yellow line. It's ZRemeshing. And then I'm going to eliminate all the pink and the brown, and I'm just going to take the green and extrude it with the Z-Modeler brush. I'm going to extrude it inward, and that's going to give me thicker straps that, you know, are pushed into the boot, and I won't have to worry about any gaps. Okay, there we go. Gave me all different polygroups though, so I'm going to just isolate the outer ones. Right? There we go. Delete hidden, group visible. And I just want to make these thicker, but I don't want to go outward. See that beautiful topology? I don't want to go outward. I want to go inward. So how do I go inward if these are one-sided, if this is one-sided geometry? I go to display properties and I hit double, and that will show me the inside topology. Then BZM again, Z-Modeler brush, QMesh all polys is already selected, and I pull that inward and make these straps nice and thick. Okay? But when I turn double off, you'll see it's flipped. The faces, the normals are flipped. So I have to do flip normals, and that will get me back to where I am, where I want to be. Okay, so there are my straps, and let's see, crease polygroups, keep groups, divide that a couple of times, save my work, now I'm going to go back to the boots. And we have 2 million points, which is nice, thick resolution. And I'm going to grab a fur brush that I have. I purchased these from Zbrush Guide. See ZBG? That's zbrushguides.com. That's a great website where I purchase these little fur brushes. You might be able to find them online for free, but this one is a nice fur brush. Some people know how to make their own brushes. I haven't done that yet, but it's a freehand stroke with this alpha. And watch how nice it makes fur. Whoa, that's too big. See that? Isn't that cool? So I would encourage you to start building up your library of cool brushes and cool alphas that you could use. If you just want to use the default brushes, you can, let me go back and I'll show you another way to do this. You can make your own alpha. You can make that in Photoshop and try to use a standard brush with that alpha. But these brushes are inexpensive. I would go to ZBrush Guides or a site like Flipped Normals and buy some cool brushes. They come in handy. I use them all the time. But anyway, if you want to use just the default brushes, I picked the standard brush, freehand stroke, and the alpha that comes with ZBrush, number 62. That's kind of cool, and that will give you a nice similar. It doesn't taper. You can see the edges don't taper like fur, but maybe you can go and adjust the alpha settings, modify. Maybe you could find the settings in here to adjust that, or the stroke. Maybe you could adjust something. But you get a similar result with the default ZBrush brushes. But since I already have the fur brushes, whoa, where am I? Okay. I'm just going to use my fur brush. Whoops, which is right here. I saved it to my desktop. You know what? If I go back a little bit, maybe if I leave those straps masked, that's a good idea. Let me try that. I'm going to hide the straps, but I'm going to leave it masked. Whoops. And then it won't add fur where that mask is. And it will look like the fur is poking out over the edges. So I'm just going to do this quickly. I'll go back and clean it up a little bit. Let's increase the intensity. But I just want to give you an idea of what it's going to look like. I'll go back in there with a move brush and pull out some clumps of fur and maybe redo all of this. Oh no, don't crash. No! Oh, I thought I was going to crash. I think I better save as soon as I'm done with this fur. I will save my work and we'll call this chapter done. Let's see, Lazy Mouse gives me a little cleaner fur. All right. So you can see how handy these brushes come in. If you make your own brushes, that's fantastic. I've really not gotten into that. I've made some brushes, but not too many. Mostly insert mesh brushes for things like stitches and staples and stuff like that. Repeating elements. But I haven't made a brush like this before. I gotta learn how to do that. Okay. All right. There they are. I'm going to clear the mask and put the straps back on. There you go. Now let's get the sole a little bit bigger, a little bit better fitting. That looks like the feet poking through, not the boots. So I'm just going to get a trim dynamic and just kind of flatten that down. All right. There we go. Let's get that dark color with a basic material. We'll color the straps with that dark color. And the boots, let's do slightly lighter color. Same thing with the sole. Okay, so there we go. That's a quick way to do some nice furry boots. They're really just placeholders. I'm going to go back in there and maybe add a couple more zigzag straps and put a leather texture. But let me save my work and let's call this one done. Thank you for watching. And I'll see you in the next one.